What have you heard?
Well, of course, we've been following keenly as this limited voters registration has been ongoing. What I have noted with grave concern is the pockets of violence that have been experienced in different locations across different regions of the country, different parts of the country. Yesterday, when we spoke with lawyer Eduji Tamaklo, and he is the Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC.
That's right.
He was putting some more flesh to the bones, or at least the story according to him, as to what was happening in the Ahafo region. You know, it was alleged that Honorable Collins Dowda had been arrested. But as the twists and turns unfolded, according to the NDC, it wasn't as it appeared, as it was splashed across the different front pages of the different newspapers. I asked Lawyer Eduji, because the end of that press release that came from Sami Jemfi and the NDC says that, well, the NDC is not going to hesitate to, defend themselves. And so I said, what happened to turning the other cheek? He says that's not an option at this time. I've heard comments such as boot for boot. And I think the ordinary Ghanaian citizen is not in the mood for all of this fracas. We have a lot going on as a people between the NDC and the NPP. Just this common EC voters registration and a booth for booth, and there were gunshots flying. Please, can we get real?
Down?
Can we be calming down? No, can we be calming down? I think all parties who are involved in this should take a good look at themselves. We want a peaceful election. We want a peaceful voter registration. That's just my passionate appeal, that the leadership of both parties really get down to the ground and speak to their members who are going to these centers and fomenting trouble. The police personnel as well, I think, could be increased in certain hotspots, if you will. That has also been a topic for concern on social media and beyond.
You know, Verna is a sponsor of the show. Drink Verna water.
I should be calming down. I wanted to get my point across, that these pockets of violence, they have an origin, they have a reason, and I hope the leadership of the two main parties are listening. That really worries me. Exchange of gunshots, voter registration. Come on.
You're right when you say these things, because we cannot kill ourselves and
for
hope
what
that we will finish and have an election.
For what?
It's actually uncalled for.
Uncalled for.
Yeah, it's uncalled
for. But on the other side as well is the EC's preparedness, if you will. There have been some suggestions, administrative and otherwise, about the use of different maybe networks, internet networks, because, as people converge in one place with all the different mobile phones, it can jam the system. So if we can upgrade that particular side of things and make it more seamless, so we don't discourage our young ones. You go into a queue for 8-9 hours. Will you return the next day?
No,
Probably not. So that's also one to note.
Let's listen to some voices, and if you join us on Facebook as well, you will be on 3FM 927 and you get the visuals. But let's toss the videos in.
Anyone who understands democratic elections, who understands the work of election management bodies, will attest that the Electoral Commission of Ghana is one of the best when it comes to the business. So I think for us, we know our work will speak for us, and we are doing the registration. We believe everything will go on very well. So we think that the parties understand. We know these are things the parties may not express them publicly, but privately, they know the Electoral Commission is the best when it comes to this business. And those who criticize, I know privately, they know we are the best at this. Clearly, you can see the real figures were correct, but the disaggregation of the various days. So I don't see this as anything which is so major for people to make a beef about. The bigger picture, the total registered at the time, about 143, was also captured correctly. We have also noticed that the disturbances occurring at some of our registration centers is due to the fact that some people are doubting the ages of some of the applicants. This is the reason why the Commission has been advocating for the usage of the Ghana card, which has the date of birth and the nationality of the bearers of the card, and the abolition of the guarantor system. We are hopeful that in the next registration exercise, applicants will use the Ghana card as the means of identification.
The Electoral Commission has come under criticism about its preparedness for the general elections following a correction of data for persons it had registered so far in its ongoing limited voter registration exercise. But according to the Commission, The concerns, though legitimate, does not cast doubt on their competence.
Anyone who understands democratic elections, who understands the work of election management bodies, will attest that the Electoral Commission of Ghana is one of the best when it comes to the business. So I think for us, we know our work will speak for us, and we are doing the registration. We believe everything will go on very well. So we think that the parties understand. We know these are things the parties may not express them publicly, but privately, they know the Electoral Commission is the best when it comes to this business. And those who criticize, I know privately, they know we are the best at this.
For the Commission, the correction is a minor issue that does not require the attention it was receiving.
Clearly, you can see the real figures were correct, but the disaggregation of the various days. So I don't see this as anything which is so major for people to make a beef about.
Sunrise on 3FM, the best in the morning. The best in the morning is on 92.7. Sunrise on 3FM.
Duke Aaron Sasu is a private legal practitioner. He's also a youth leader with the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. And Stephen Forsing is the Deputy Director of IT of the NPP. Gentlemen, good morning. How are we? And, we'll be joined later by a third guest, and I'll announce that once we connect. Helen Apiampafo is also here in Flesh and Blood. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
How are we? Let me pick your initial thoughts. Duke, I'll start with you on the limited voter. The voter registration is ongoing now. What have you heard? What have you seen? What have you experienced?
Thank you. Firstly, let me say special greetings from Honorable Alan Chairman to all listeners this morning. He says that he's continuing in his pursuit of liberating ordinary Ghanaians from the hardships that confront this country. And he's with us in these hard times, especially when the two foremost political parties, just as my sister saying here, could continue to undermine the very democracy that we so cherish. I think that the past few days has revealed or continue to reveal the state of our politics, especially how the NPP and the NDC think that they can take Ghanaians for granted in general. The pursuit for political power is so deep that people will go at all lengths to preserve their political control, and that is why different levels of violence are being seen at different points across the country. But essentially, I think that the Electoral Commission has not done absolutely bad, but they can actually do much better in terms of how well they engage and how well they address the issues going forward. We are keenly monitoring the process. We are keenly engaged in the process. And we'll continue to send letters. We'll continue to engage them where we think they can best address him.
In terms of your political party, would you say you are satisfied with the process of the Electoral Commission regarding this registration?
So my submission early on was that they've not been perfect.
Dr. Bosmazari says, well,
they've not been.
No, again.
There's a concession that there are people who are below the age of 18 years who are being made to register.
Right.
We've had a parent in the Eastern region in Kukufuridua who has announced that, listen, my children are below the age of 18, but they were made to register some years ago. It tells you that within the very architecture of the Electoral Commission are loopholes that needs to be addressed. There are pockets of violence at different centers. We've had Honorable Collins down there being arrested. The NDC had released a communique that he's not probably responsible for whatever he's been accused of. But, once again, the law will surely find its way. But it speaks to the fact that these pockets of violence and these aggressive intent to register minors, which is counter the rules of the game, it speaks to the depth of desperation of the establishment within the NPP and the NDC to try and hold on to political power. And so clearly a lot needs to be done. We are not totally happy about it, but you have to also appreciate the positives as well. The positives is that there have been constant efforts to engage and try to address the issues on board, and those are things that we have to appreciate.
Right.
So yeah, there's a balance there.
Stephen Forsing, my brother who has abandoned me for a very, very long time after our student activism days. Steve, good to see you.
Good to see you again, Johnny.
What are you also picking up from the quarters of the NPP regarding the ongoing registration exercise?
First of all, thank you to our listeners and viewers.
Right.
Now, due to technology, you can see anything anywhere.
Thanks to the IT people too.
Yeah, thanks to my people.
Helen has questions for you, by the way.
Hey, Helen, you big. All right. I'm in the situation room. I'm in charge of the situation room for the NPP. So things. I mean, in terms of numbers, I think it's quite okay. It started very slow, but then it's picking up really, really well. Every single day, our people send us the figures from every registration center, and then we collate them, and then we get to know how we're doing and where it's becoming slow. And we also pick, signals, situations happening around, and the key, issues has to do with the violence. I mean, and my sister made a very important case. I can't. I cannot agree with her more. That's it. This is politics, and we need numbers. And numbers. We are not talking about mangoes. We are talking about human beings. So if you continue perpetrating violence, and then the same people we are going to campaign to vote for us, which political party, in their rights, senses would like to kill the very people we want to keep them alive to vote. And it all has to do with, the systems and then the procedure. My brother mentioned the fact that he feels, the Electoral Commission has been doing well for some, years now. Come to Africa. Ghana's Electoral Commission seems to, stand tall. I mean, arguably, but their system is not perfect. Even the EC official whose voice we just listened to admitted to the fact that the system is not perfect, and I perfectly agree. Which is why I'm sure they knew the system was not perfect, why they wanted to, remedy that loophole. And there's a huge loophole. Anytime, as an IT person, anytime you are dealing with systems and procedures and operations, and the more you have human interventions, the more, loopholes you have to compromising, systems. So when you are going IT, mostly it is good to go totally digital, so that we even if we can't trust each other, we can trust the computer with algorithms and the proper structures. So it would have been nicer for us to have maybe, the Ghana card being a document that allows people, gives people the legal right, to register as a voter. Unfortunately, that couldn't go through. And we have to come back to the guarantor system. So a human being has to guarantee that Johnny Hughes' son. I know Johnny Hughes, and he's 18 and above. And we have to take that human being's word for it. And that is a huge loophole that I believe all of us in the country must look at and then
I bring you back into the conversation. You bemoaned the NDC and the MPP's posture in the ongoing registration. For you as a movement, there are a lot of young people who are interested in what the messages that you put out there. Now, these youngsters go and stay down 8 hours, 6 hours. Are they discouraged from going on with the registration?
So, thank you. Essentially, I'll engage your question on two levels. The first is when there is a perceived level of deficiency in the system and when there's an actual level of deficiency in the system. But let me discuss the actual first. The actual, for example, is when there are delays, the system is not functioning, and people are frustrated and all that. But when people are frustrated within a system, a political system that has sought to undermine their progress for years, then they will do whatever it takes to become a part of the political process. So what we have is young people across the country who are eager to be part of the voting calendar or the voting process come December. So that what I can assure you is that there will be massive turnouts across centers. People are eager to register. Or what we will say is that we encourage the Electoral Commission to essentially do well to fix the system, just as we send that they are progressively trying to do the same, so that they would encourage more people to participate in the electoral process. That's what I would say there. The other element of addressing the actual level of deficiency is how data can be used in that regard. So historically, there are some hotspots within certain areas or certain polling stations in certain constituencies. So within that historical narrative, such historical data could be used in getting much more police presence, or much more, attention to such spaces, even much more machines and all that, historically. Also, some data can be used to assess where there could be potential conflict, especially when the two parliamentary aspirants are a bit they are quite tied up neck to neck.
Right.
Then there's a potential for violence, because with that feels that, listen, once I get a number of people back to the location, then I can get an upper hand. So that historical data becomes a basis of addressing these actual levels of deficiency.
Right.
The next level of deficiency is the perceived level of deficiency. It's rooted in our constitution. So prior to the 2007 elections in Kenya, the president of Kenya was the appointing officer for the chairman of the Electoral Commission, what they call the Independent Electoral Commission in Kenya. Post the election, there was a great level of violence in Kenya. So they realized that there is a perception of bias when the player in the match is the appointer of the referee in the same match. So that no matter how efficient the Electoral Commission is, once the Electoral Commission is being appointed by the president or the government, then there are perceptions of bias, no matter how efficient they are. So there have been reforms within Kenya's constitution that prevents the Kenyan president from being the direct appointer of the Electoral Commission in Kenya. There is a need for constitutional reform within our system, so that if we have a reform process that whittles down the appointing powers of the president, of the referee within the match that the president's party is a part of, then that brings to the fore.
The appointee must not be under the influence of the appointor.
Exactly. It's basic principles in law, all right? That you cannot be a referee,
a judge, jury,
a judge in your trial. It's quite fundamental. And if we want to preserve our democracy in principle, then we need to take a look at it. That's why Honorable Alan Chairman and the Alliance for Revolutionary Change leaders have been championing the idea for constitutional reform, that until we address this foundational error, then we'll be back for the next 4 years to have conversations on perceptions of bias, whether they are actual or not.
I see. Helen, let's hear your voice. Fire. Fosin is waiting for your question. A question that he doesn't want to.
I mean, because he has the IT background, I just wanted to pick his brains on what sort of interventions he thinks could help the EC make this process a lot smoother. Because I'm also thinking about the admin side of things and how tedious it's been so far, especially for first-time voters. They are quite young. You know what it's like at that age, quite restless. The importance of the exercise ahead, I don't know if it's fully sunk in. So they'll go 1-2 times and maybe retreat and not return. What about the arguments that have been made about using multiple networks? What are the challenges with that really, and what can the EC do to just strengthen those systems? Are there any other ideas maybe that have been put forth, that have come up, that could make the actual exercise more streamlined?
All right. Thank you. This is just my ideas. I don't speak for the EC.
Complex compound question.
Yeah, I mean, the basic, all the question is seeking to do is how to make the registration process simple.
That's all,
and seamless, you know, for the people. And that will mean improving upon the technology. The technology said to me is the issue that needs to be looked at.
But a lot of money has been spent on this equipment, on this technology, on the system. So what else do we need to pump some more money in? Is that the issue?
Not necessarily. You know, technology is, increasing. The world is growing in technology and is becoming very sophisticated.
Right. But
the other question is Ghana ready for that level of sophistication? That is the question we should ask for. The technology exists. Do we have the legal frameworks that will support such, even transmitting results? Do you know the hassle the EC has to go through for Parliament to agree that, I don't think even now they've still agreed yet, that election result can be transmitted electronically via HTTP or, in a very seamless manner, like the way we collate our results. And for that matter, we always get our results fast. The EC also has enough funds to do same. But sometimes we've bound ourselves with so much legalities, very very mechanical legalities that sometimes makes it very difficult for us to have a very simple and seamless way of doing things technologically.
Right.
You get it? So we first of all have to, as my brother said, have to look at the legal frameworks to make sure it is in tandem with time, the current times.
Right.
Because, you go to the ECs, the Electoral Commission to register. If you first of all fill a form, then they will key it in, You
think it's too obsolete?
It is obsolete. I mean, why are we even writing it down before we go and key it in? Then somebody will come and take these things could have been made.
If ever there was, a petition in the courts, you ask for pink sheet.
That's why I'm saying
that's
that.
Where we are now.
Yes. So the law,
evidential proof.
The law should now accommodate electronic fingerprints, electronic data. That instead of going with pink, do you know how difficult it is to handle pink sheets? At the just ended GSO election, I was collating the results and pink sheet. I mean, I was asking myself, why are we doing this? You hold it and your whole hand turns to red. And this is what we are stuck in. The legal framework must open itself up to accommodate.
But Fossing, you also agree that as of now, or as at now, we'll not be able to put everybody onto a national database.
That's what the NIA is doing, and I think we've been able to put a lot of people on now, and we could build on it. It can't be 100%. I will be a liar if I sit here and say the system is 100% perfect. Right. But then we've built enough data that can allow us to start from somewhere. So if our legislators had agreed that we migrate entirely onto the NIA database, as far as the Electoral Commission's operations was concerned, it would have been easier for us to ascertain the age of somebody. When you get there and you put your fingerprint on it, you don't have to tell me how old you are. The system is already telling me how old you are. And this whole argument, the hula baloo about, hey, he's not 18 years, hey, he's 18 years because of that somebody's ear has been cut off, it would have been, avoided. But if I think about, sometimes I want to be reasonable and think about the other side. I don't see any reason why.
But then you political parties also go and sit with the EC at the IPAC meeting. Do you tell them some of these things?
I mean, I can speak for my political party. I can't speak for the rest. My party was for. I mean, we've always been pro. We like technology. We've built these structures. The national identification card, the Ghana card goes beyond. It's not a physical. You see, the purpose of the card is not the card. The purpose of the card is the database that is sitting behind the card. So we felt our party's position was that I think we thought it was okay that we use the Ghana card, as a legal document that will, give somebody the opportunity to register. That was our
but to the extent that you are not giving everybody a Ghana card, you cannot use that as a sole means of being enrolled onto the register.
If you look at the Ghana's per the just and the 2021 population census, right now we've registered about maybe over 15 million. I don't have the figures. I'm just almost 16 million. If you look at the population census, the adult population, is around that same figure. So it wouldn't really. It's not up to though, but the few people that would have made up is not that great. It's not that huge a number. That if we put our minds to it, and this is what we wanted to do, look at the speed with which this over almost 16 million people were registered.
Okay.
If you say we want to register 4 million more people, are we not having the capacity to do it?
There are financial implications and financial impediments that we're putting on.
But this same financials is going into registering this EC registration. It is finances.
But
if we had done this.
But the EC's registration.
But this speed wasn't without duress.
Yes.
Get your Ghana card, otherwise you can't do X, Y, Z. Put Ghanaians through a lot of stress and hassle, queues and what have you. When this is something that we could have done over a period of time. So the speed was there, but you threatened us. To get a Ghana card, don't get a Ghana card, don't link it, you can't do this, you can't bank here, you can't do X, Y, Z.
And that's what is happening. The only place, the only place we've not been able to enforce this is EC's data.
It got to a point, if you don't have Ghana card, won't pay you. The public bank won't pay you.
Let's bring Aaron into the conversation. Aaron, I noticed that you had some few reservations. What really were the reservations?
Not several reservations. I think that the submissions of my brother here are well intended, but there's a fundamental flaw that we need to address.
Okay.
And it is quite inherent in the great transformational plan of Alan John Kwekwedu Chairman. He talks about the need to own our data infrastructure, our digital infrastructure.
Correct.
because the credibility of a process also is also about how we also preserve our sovereignty as a nation.
That's right.
And within the definition or the interrogation of sovereignty is how you even it's also born on perception wise, how even the people believe that in the control of the electoral process, it is one being controlled by the state itself or by the state institution, the Electoral Commission properly so called. That is because we are aware of, for example, the stories of the likes of Cambridge Analytica in the UK and their interference in the US elections, in the 2016 US elections. We are also aware, for example, that in Zimbabwe's recent elections, there are questions of foreign interference through interfering with the data system and all that.
Yeah.
Just recently, a cable cut in somewhere in the deep seas affected our entire internet infrastructure, nearly collapsed some businesses in this country. It tells you that ownership of our infrastructure is key to how we can have further conversations on how the data architecture should be used, even for propelling our own systems of our electoral process.
Right.
So when you do not own your data infrastructure, that is when there is the potential perception of neo-colonialist influence in even your electoral process. Because it means that a young guy somewhere in India, in his balcony, can actually influence the outcome of your electoral process, whether it is based on perception-wise or actual, can do that from his balcony, mainly because of how the infrastructure works. When there is ownership and control within your data infrastructure, as is being championed by Alan Martin, then you have much greater credibility in the process. So that all the things my brother is preaching will not even have a buy-in, especially because other people will think that you are using that technological approach and know-how to somehow, push or notch the elections to your favor. But there should be a degree of trust in the system where that architecture is being controlled by the state in principle, with lessons from the US elections and from the Zimbabwean elections.
Interesting thought pattern there. But Fosin, you tell me, how soon can we get where you envisage that we will not have to push paper anymore? We're just using. How soon can we get there? Because the world has moved on. It's obvious. The Kenyan example, the Zimbabwean example, we have moved on. We seem stuck in the old ways. How soon can we get there?
As soon as we get the right leadership that understands the terrain. Once we get the leadership that has the moral impetus to do some of these things, it can be done. The thing is saying the framework is already there. We just have to build upon it. We've been able to migrate a lot of Ghanaian institutional processes onto the digital framework so that things move smoothly. And it is not for only MPP people. It will move smoothly for every Ghanaian. And that to me is what we should be looking at. How difficult would it be if the NIA is resort with everybody in Ghana on it. My brother talked about interferences and believability and all that.
That's right.
So we make it's a state institution. It's all inclusive. And I don't think everybody that works at the NIA is an MPP member.
Okay.
And I don't think everybody that works at even the EC is an MPP member or NDC member.
Right.
Look, I've moved around most of these government agencies, and you realize that every person is represented over there. Every ethnic group is represented. Every political party is represented. So we should get to a point where we believe in our own institutions. Nobody will come and believe in our institutions for us. Right. And this whole, some of these things, as my brother was talking about, creates this what I call conspiracy theories, and also creates a perception of propagation of disbelief in our own institutions. So somebody sit down and thinks and create this conspiracy theory that EC is doing something to rig election.
But then if the Electoral Commission presents itself in a manner or in a fashion that makes people doubt them, you can't fault the people from doubting them. For example, the Electoral Commission should have considered this as a dress rehearsal for the big election in December. Are you going to hold the big elections in the district offices, or are you going to do a widespread, over the 38,000 polling stations, right? Are you going to restrict the process in December? No.
I don't speak for the Electoral Commission.
So you have the machines. This is your big dress rehearsal. Why don't you
decentralize
the machines, decentralize
all the polling stations,
and then you can, because you failed to do that in the district level elections. So when Movement for Change or Alliance for Revolutionary Change, NPP, NDC, CPP, PPP, when they come complaining, they are complaining because you have not shown them that, okay, when it comes to the big election, I can do this and flawlessly so. We are lucky that even this one has about 21 days, right? The big election is just one day. So the Electoral Commission is bringing this upon themselves and asking for people to now evaluate their work and say, we can't trust you, we can trust you.
For me, I think, I don't speak for the Electoral Commission, let me put that on record, but then if I think about why they are sending this to their processes to the district offices, if not for budgetary constraints or logistical constraints, I don't even know what to think about. You get it? So that could be it. And the Electoral Commission doesn't work on an island. They work in a government, and everything they do has to be approved by a certain parliament, the institution called parliament.
Right.
And I'm sure whatever they are doing now, our parliamentarians have approved of it, the CI and everything that is governing.
And that's where the problem is. Because the Electoral Commission goes before Parliament.
Yes.
They have a special budget committee that actually hears them and gives them the juiciest part of everything they want. You cannot be complaining about money. Because as for the elections, since 1992 when we started this fourth Republican dispensation, we have never had a problem with Electoral Commission coming to say I want this and I'm not getting.
If you sit down with the commission, you get to know that funding is also, they may not come and say we are not getting our funding, but funding is a very big part of the commission's work.
There has always been an avenue for us to even get them money, and then for external help, if need be. They can't come and talk about funding. Have they asked and they didn't get?
You and I may never know because we don't see
let them ask.
No, but
is it because when you do this, you actually set the whole country on a certain edge.
Because I wish let me find it. I wish they will be able to talk. I don't know if there's anything that stops them from talking about maybe we didn't get our budget and we didn't get our fund, that's why we are doing this. I wish they can explain explicitly to Ghanaians on why they chose to do district level registration. If that's what I'm saying, that if not about budget, I don't know what else could be holding them back. If I think about it, look, it is a very expensive venture,
and we are not complaining.
Some people are
my brother has become more of a de facto PRO for the East.
I stated clearly that I don't speak for them.
But Stephen, you can't begrudge us that opinion. The way you started on the path, you might want to change your direction or change your tactic. I'm just as a listener on the outside. That's my observation.
I'll surely recommend you to the Electoral Commission to take care of the PR. But let me emphasize that what makes what Johnny is saying more important is that the right to vote is sacrosanct within our constitution.
Correct.
So that when there are budgetary conversations on how we can advance the right to vote and allow people to exercise their franchise within the voting architecture of our country, then conversations on the budget cannot be had now. And so if that limitation exists, has the Electoral Commission come out to have that discussion? Right. Is it that the foreign partners and the parliament are holding our electoral architecture into ransom? No, it cannot be. And if that is the case, then it is very defeatist from the onset and it needs to be addressed.
They need to speak up.
But let me put this across, Johnny. We will be very naive to sit here to pretend as if Ghana doesn't have budgetary constraints. Every department, department in Ghana has a budgetary constraint.
Nobody is suggesting that.
Ghana is a country with limited resources.
What we're saying is that at least there is record to prove that since 1992, when we started this fourth Republican, dispensation, if ever there has been a challenge with our electoral budget, right? We have been able to surmount it since 1992.
Yeah.
Either we support it. In fact, in 2016 or 2020, the president Nana Addo told us that This is the only election that we have had that we did not need external help to conduct the elections, which means that we are capable. We have the money. And I'm saying that there's a reason that the Constitution even grants a special budget committee, where whether it is Jimenez or Charlotte Osei or Afarijan, they go before it and they say, this is how much we need to conduct this election.
That's the purpose of the committee. The committee is to look into the spending. If they will get everything they ask for, then the committee will not be necessary.
Yeah, but they need to go and, it's state resources.
Yes.
So you need to go and ask.
So when you go and ask, the committee sit down and look at it. The committee exists.
It's aware of some internal deficiencies that we are not aware of.
A committee exists. Okay, let me say this. If everything your child asks for, you are going to give. Then why are you going to discuss it with your wife?
Without the elections, you cannot say we have the democracy that we are enjoying.
Exactly. But then we should also admit that as a country, we have budgetary constraints. The country has limited resources.
What do you know that you are not telling us?
But we know this. Anytime our budget
there is a fundamental flaw.
How much of our budget is supported by
there is a fundamental flaw in your analysis. To the extent that the importance of electoral cycle to the preservation of our democracy and how that is tied to our development architecture is so fundamental that we should not be having this conversation now about a budget. The reason being that if it is even so, has there been express conversations by the Electoral Commission to my knowledge, to your knowledge, to the knowledge of the ordinary Ghanaians that money is a problem? The answer is no, unless you have had some private conversations with the Electoral Commission and you privy to that information. Other than that, then the defense you are mounting for the Electoral Commission is one that cannot stand at any point in time.
If you listen to me clearly, you get to understand that we are speaking the same language.
Oh no,
very different. I stated that. If you remember, I stated that. If only the Electoral Commission will be able to, have a very open conversation about their own budget and how the approval processes go. Okay, we submitted $100 million budget and we were given $70 million. And I don't know any institution in Ghana who submits budgets and then the budget committees that at Parliament that looks at all budgets will just grant all. Even our budget, the budget that is read every year, is it all that we spend?
No.
We don't. It's not all that we even have.
Right.
We don't even have it to spend.
But there's a reason it's called
place.
a special budget committee.
Special so that they give them special attention.
Fantastic.
Special attention does not mean that everything you ask for, you are going to get. So the Electoral Commission comes to say that we want to buy, let's say, a power plant, a plant for every polling station. There's 100 kVA for every polling station. You know the special budget.
But the Electoral Commission has also not come to say that we have asked for this, they didn't give us. So for which reason?
Exactly. So why are we having this conversation?
Or confirm whether they've
no Electoral Commissioner has come to say
I don't know. But I just want you to know.
Why are we having this conversation, my brother? Why are we having this conversation?
Let's move away. Let's move away. Now, let's talk about the enthusiasm of the young people in the forthcoming elections. Are they really, really interested in the elections that is coming? Aaron?
Yes, they are. So close to 70% of the population are young people aged below 35 years. Right. Well over 70% are.
Right.
Now, little over 60% of the electoral population are people aged between 18 to 35 years. It tells you that this electoral process is quite hinged on young people, and that is why all political actors seems to be targeting young people in this process. But for young people also, it is a matter of trying to take matters into your own hands, especially because they are in a system where governmental policies are suffocating businesses that is not allowing them to give them space to be employed. They are within a society where young people, in order to say for progress for themselves, are looking forward to travel outside the country for greener pastures, for jobs that are largely non-existent, especially with recent immigration challenges in the likes of Canada and in the UK. So it tells you that the life out there is not as comfortable as they thought it could be. The only place that they can count on is home. And so for young people, the pursuit for jobs, the pursuit for opportunities, the pursuit for incentives that will propel their enterprises.
Right.
Is what they are looking forward to. And that is why they are looking for someone who has a track record that identifies with them. For them, being youthful is not just about age. Being youthful is how your ideals are representative of the ideals of young people. How your ideals are representative of the job creation agenda that will transform young people. And they look at this conversation and only one person comes to mind. The person that comes to mind is a man who has been key to job creation to the UNDP and enterprise group Africa, Empretech, in about 13 African countries, creating over 4,000 enterprises. They're talking about the man who consistently, through a project that the MPP now claims to be probably their foremost achievement, the 1D1F, created hundreds of thousands of jobs for young people. He's the man that they're looking forward to because he's a man who has a track record in industry, a man who represents the ideals and aspirations of young people. And so for young people, they are eager to exercise their franchise come December 7th and surely align with a man who would put their interest at the forefront, not one who continues to undermine their interest to policy propositions.
We've been joined by Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer. He's the Deputy Director of Elections of the NDC. Doc, good morning.
Good morning, my brother.
How are you?
Oh, I'm terrific. Sorry for the late.
Don't worry. Are you happy with the Electoral Commission and the ongoing registration exercise?
Let me say good morning to your cherished listeners. I must say we are in a trying moment, a very terrible situation we found ourselves as a country. This current Electoral Commission, as we initially stated, need to be seriously investigated. We've written to the Speaker of Parliament to constitute a body to investigate the Electoral Commission vis-a-vis their setup, ICT setup, the equipment they have, both BVDs and BVRs. You are aware what is going on in terms of the missing BVRs, the theft case there. Can you imagine, since 1992, in fact, I've been involved in the process since 1992, we've never had this kind of situation at the Electoral Commission. It has never happened. For the first time that you are having items which are very important to the heartbeat of the electoral process, that is the BVRs and the BVDs, missing. And they are at the Electoral Commission, where we have heavily built security men cordoning the place. In fact, when you go to the Electoral Commission as of now, it's like a war zone. You have military men there, you have police, you have armored vehicles parked over there. And they have 24/7 security CCTV cameras all over the place. Yet convenient thieves, you know why I call them convenient thieves?
I don't understand.
Yes, they managed to pass through all this security setup and made away with 5 components of the BVRs.
The Electoral Commission says it's no cause for alarm because they cannot be used for anything unless you know something that we don't know. Beautiful.
They said there shouldn't be any problem about it, but yet they are having problem with us asking for the serial numbers of the BVRs. The thieves went away with the serial numbers of the items they took, and at the time they were carrying those items, they would have taken all the serial numbers of the BVRs in the storeroom because the cameras could not capture them. Okay, so the thieves are having the serial numbers of the BVR. The Electoral Commission has no problem with that. The NDC is asking for serial numbers, and they came out with some long teases.
Are you not overstretching this matter?
Oh, we are not. Do you know why we are asking for all these things?
No, tell me.
Yeah, see, just the day before yesterday, do you know what happened on their website? They publicized fake figures, wrong figures. A whole body that is constituted, and we even critique the way they were constituted. Ghanaians were not seeing the reason behind our critiquing the appointment to the Electoral Commission. Now it's staring them at their face. They're staring them at their face. 1, thefts. 2nd, fake figures are now being chained out. Wrong figures are being put out. And people are silent. They don't know. You see, the source of all this will soon be revealed. When they started chaining out those fake figures, they didn't know that the NDC, we had all the serial numbers of the BVRs. We have it.
You do?
Oh, fast. This is an NDC which is preparing for governance. And that is why we're able to expose the thievery at the Electoral Commission. They didn't expose it themselves. We exposed it.
In fact, when you raised the alarm,
yes,
your party, the Electoral Commission denied it.
Denied and accepted it at IPAC. We went to IPAC and they accepted that, yes, 5 of them were missing. BVDs.
How did you come by that information?
I said, leave that to us. We have in our intelligence. This is an electoral commission that is so porous to the extent that their incompetence is always exhibited publicly.
But Dr. Bosman Asare says they are the best in the game.
Bosman?
Yes.
Look, their track record, if I am to talk about it, I would need a whole 24 hours to talk about them.
Hey, why?
Yes. You saw what happened in 2023. You see, you saw what happened in 2023.
Bring you on 24 economy here.
That's what I'm saying. Because, look, my brother, their first major election was the 2020 election, right? It ended as in court. Right. And you know the type of pink sheets they use. My brother was mentioning pink sheets when I heard of him. You see, it's high time we began to understand our electoral system. Our electoral system is not electronic. It's manual by nature. The 1992 Constitution, the framers, haven't looked at the population of Ghana and our illiteracy rate, design our electoral system to hinge on manual process.
But Mr. Forson is asking that we move away and start looking at digitalization.
Digitalization, America of all people. Trump is crying that the election was rigged in 2020. Is that not true? America of all people. The whole of Africa, it is only Namibia which is now going fully electronic. Okay, all of us are using paperwork. That is why they give you ballot paper to go and complain. Why they are not bringing laptops that we should go and be using electronic voting? You see, our voting is always on paperwork.
Can we move away from that?
The time of moving away from it is not now, as we speak now.
When?
Why? Because we can't have this type of electoral commissioner sitting in there, where even we do paperwork, they still chain up fake figures for us.
But your relationship with the Electoral Commission, I mean, as a party, has always been frosty. I mean, since Madam Jean Mensah took over, it's been, I mean, to the point where you even abandoned IPAC, you didn't go.
Johnny.
Why?
Johnny.
They say you are troublesome. Is it true?
Johnny.
Yes, sir.
The game is evidence. Is that not true?
Yes, first.
We play by the rules. We have CI. The CI that govern election is CI 127.
Right.
Okay. And the CI that govern registration is CI 91 as amended by 126. Right. These are two powerful documents that govern our process. Constitutional instruments. You have the CI. You send it to Parliament, the Electoral Commission. Then you sidestep the CIs, and you are doing your own thing. And nobody's talking. Civil society are quiet. Electoral Commission sidestepping their own CIs. I'll give you an example. Go and check CI 127 and look at Schedule 2. Under it, the document known as the Statement of Poll, the one known as the pink sheet, used for the 2020 election. Why did they remove the
Why doesn't the MPP, Alliance for Revolutionary Change, CPP, PPP, they all don't have a problem with it? You are the only ones who are
I am saying that this is a document you have given me. The thing is written in a simple legal language.
I agree with you. I'm saying that the other political parties, they don't seem interested in what you are talking about.
They're not interested.
Are they interested? Have you heard
Well, that is the question. I heard him when I was coming. He was comfortable with what is going on. And I'm saying that, how are you comfortable with fake figures? A figure which is supposed to be 19,000, you go and put it 25,000. Imagine December 7th. We go and do election. You say you are collating the ages too. You collect 19,000 on your documents. And the Electoral Commission will come here and announce 25,000. Will you accept that kind of results?
Aaron.
And I'm saying that I haven't even finished with them.
Quickly.
This is a kind of, and he said they are the best.
Yes.
Do you know that this is a serious national security threat?
Do you disagree with Dr. Anasari that they are the best?
He should have been arrested and asked to write his statement.
By who?
By the IGP.
Because?
Chaining out wrong figures can create security problem in the country. Don't you agree? Don't you agree?
Well,
imagine people have started. Yes, imagine people have started drawing daggers over the figures they had put out. If we hadn't discovered it and stopped them, the NDC discovered these wrong figures. The NPP were quiet. They were silent because they want to enjoy with that fake figures. They had enjoyed it before, so they didn't see anything wrong with the fake figures put out by the Electoral Commission. It took the NDC through my boss Omani Boama to put out an episode on his social media handle. Less than 3 hours, as soon as they saw it, they pulled down all that. Yesterday, when they were correcting it, instead of them to thank the NDC and congratulate us for having been given the supporting the process to sanitize the electoral process, look at what they put out there. Look at what they were talking about. The thing was not a day one problem. Day 2, day 3, day 4, simple arithmetic. These commissioners cannot do it. I've been saying it, that these commissioners, if we sleep with our two eyes, this country, they'll plunge it into serious anarchy.
See, Aaron.
You know this.
Aaron, I'll give you an opportunity. Let me go to Aaron so that I distribute that time. Aaron, you've listened to Doctor. He seems not to be happy at all with the Electoral Commission. And I will ask the question I asked him. Why are they the only ones talking? Your movement is not talking, or your alliance is not talking. MPP seems okay. I've not heard CPP, I've not heard PPP, PNC. Everybody seems okay, but they're the only ones who are crying wolf.
No, I think that the movement, the alliance in particular, has expressed reservations on some elements. I think that in my first submissions early on today, I made it clear that the process has not been perfect. I think that clearly when numbers are being churned out and the numbers are not reflective of what are the actuals, it calls for a lot of questioning of the process. But what we also admit is that there is the Electoral Commission, have they been willing to amend where need be? Have they made concessions where need be? So that if they have a situation where the Electoral Commission is bent on preserving numbers that are not reflective of the actuals, then you have a challenge. Right. But clearly, when the public duty of a member of the NDC was exercised in bringing to the fore that the numbers were not accurate, they have made a concession and done the corrections accordingly. So we need to appreciate, and also we need to also comment where we need to comment. We need to criticize. That's why I've expressed that the levels of violence in different locations that I felt could have been avoided based on historical data and actual data analysis. The issues of the registration of minors, which both the MPP and the NDC have been guilty of throughout our electoral history. So that when the MPP and the NDC in particular now wants to sing songs that they are angels in the process, it becomes quite a challenge. Because historically, they have been at the forefront of chaos in our registration process. Historically, the MPP and the NDC have both been there. However, it means that we need to address same. But to condemn the Electoral Commission in totality, I think that our due regard and due commendation of Electoral Commission where they need to commend it, and also the due criticizing of same is what preserves our democracy. It doesn't mean that you should have a hands-on opposition to them.
Is the Electoral Commission listening?
No, I think that there's been some degree of listenership. For example, they've amended.
You go for IPAC meetings, they tell you, oh, you are not even a constitutionally recognized, body. So you advise. But they say that. The Electoral Commission has said that.
Exactly. But you see, the Electoral Commission has not been perfect. I've said that. And I think that one thing that Honorable Alan Chairman has said constantly is that, listen, the Commission is not perfect. They have their challenges. We need to address it. And that's why I've said that the underlying issue of addressing them is through constitutional reform. Because they will say that you are an advisory body, mainly because there is no constitutional authority that you have to engage them. And so they will try to exert their constitutional autonomy against you in principle. But if we have addressed the foundational challenges that confront our constitution, they're having a different conversation again. Right. And so, but as it stands now, let us support them. Let us criticize them where there's a need to. But the upfront opposition to them is one that has a tendency to, for chaos. And
so, for example,
we need to.
The NDC raises questions about missing laptops. The Electoral Commission comes to flatly deny that it has never happened. You are crying wolf. Then I heard Kudeo, Mr. Ayin. He says, if the NDC is the one, they should bring proof. Then the Electoral Commission comes to say, it is true. Our machines have been stolen. We have gone to the police. We have gone to report to the police belatedly. Does that not clean the NDC up and put the Electoral Commission in a certain fix?
Exactly. I think that
because you are heavily guarded.
Exactly. So it's the exact conversation
I'm having now. Have you seen G Mensa move around? She has military guards. At the EC office, there are tanks. So you cannot say that you first of all deny that you have not lost anything, creating a certain impression. So if they had not pursued it, it means that then you put yourself in that corner.
So exactly my point. My point is that the deficiencies in Electoral Commission are clear. That's why I have constantly mentioned the actual level deficiency and the perceived level deficiency. The actual level, for example, is how
do they repair this reputation?
The actual level is where, for example, machines that are critical to electoral architecture are actually being lost.
Right.
As to whether or not it is some form of a manifestation of a deep state architecture, that's a different conversation. But even if it is not, the perception of bias or the potential to use it against the system is one that needs to be addressed, and it's addressed through conversations. And thankfully, they've come to engage a lesson. They are actually missing. We've lost these machines, so we need to have constant engagement. For example, the NDC have made a recommendation submission that is it possible that they can know the codes, all right, that are evident on serial numbers, so that they can track this
but
process.
the Electoral Commission's posture. If I say, Aaron, I put this document in your possession and it has been stolen, and I come and I say, and they say, oh, nothing has been stolen, and then you later come back to say, oh, yes, indeed, it has been stolen, as you said. Don't we deserve an apology from the Electoral Commission?
No, we do.
And they have not apologized.
No, we do.
They are going on exalting themselves and talking about the fact that we are the best in the game. It's actually disrespectful.
We need more than an apology. There are two conversations we are having here. One is the Electoral Commission at the point of disaster that we must even avoid engaging them at all? And what is the impact of that on the preservation of our democracy?
Right.
The second question is that is the Electoral Commission are they performing certain acts or functions, or are they doing certain things that can be aggressively addressed through conversations, through open criticism? The answer is yes. And that is why when my brother here brings to the fore certain questions that need to be queried, for example, how are we putting out figures that are not consistent with the data on the ground? The question is that needs to be interrogated, and people who are responsible for same needs to be asked to answer quick questions to that effect. But it does not mean that the entire architecture of the Electoral Commission should be probably undermined, that it impacts the neutrality of the electoral process. We can have conversations whilst addressing the issues that are prevail.
I see. Fosin,
yes, sir.
You had a few disagreements with Doc. What do you say?
Oh, I mean, not necessarily disagreement.
He said you are comfortable with what the Electoral Commission is doing.
I'm
sidestepping is CI.
I'm surprised. That's what he had listening to me, because I don't think anybody here has been so comfortable with the performance so far. What we said is that they are working. I mean, this is the commission that we have. We agree to the fact that they had their own issues. But then some of these, complaints of NDC, complain about arithmetics and the fact that the EC was not able to add, these figures. I don't hold brief for the EC, and once again, I don't speak for the EC, as I keep saying. We have our own coalition.
It's one thing saying you don't, it's another thing actually sounding like the spokesperson of the EC.
Sometimes I just want to look at the issues and then discuss them dispassionately.
Right.
Dispassionately. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm coming from a party that has consistently had a problem with collating their own resource and then turning back and accusing the Electoral Commission of arithmetic is very rich. It's very rich. Sometimes I want to make a point too. Sometimes we should just look at these things. There are some few administrative errors. I don't condone it, because we are dealing with people's elections, emotions. Electoral Commission should be more careful.
Right.
But when some of these lapses happen, as political parties, we need to be very responsible with the way we treat them.
But forcing.
But
check the last election, 2020.
Yes, that's what I want to talk about.
How many times did the Electoral Commission come to put its own?
We are in the same frequency.
It happen.
We are in the same frequency. However, I know the EC should be careful about how they do their computations and how hurriedly they come up with some of these additions.
Right.
If you look at the ECs, the figures they put out there, the individual components were right, but then when you sum them, it wasn't adding up. So they
went beyond 100%.
I tell you.
How?
So they should always check that. That notwithstanding, as political parties, people listen to us. No wonder there's mayhem and confusion going all over. The level of conspiracy theories, sometimes, you saw an error. You draw the attention of the Electoral Commission to it, and they correct it. This shouldn't go beyond, making it look like there's a grand scheme that is happening, and people pick up arms, and then they go and cause mayhem, and somebody actually died. Who killed them? Is it the commission who made a mistake, or the person who actually blew it out of proportion? Sometimes we have to be a bit, responsible with some of our utterances and how we go about
you also
these
do
things.
not give people the what do you call it? The space to conjecture.
Johnny, mistakes.
Duke has been talking about perceived and the actual.
Yes, I know.
Since all morning.
Johnny,
so when you give people
a
setting impression, they will carry it along.
Johnny, we are humans. And I will keep on saying, we will be very naive to say as humans, people don't make mistakes. I'm not saying, I just want you to understand, I'm not saying the Electoral Commission should make mistakes, especially with arithmetics. Adding one or two figures together to give the final, they shouldn't make that mistakes. But when those mistakes happen, as political parties also, we have to, of course, I know NDC has been trying to do their own calculations, MPP too, we do ours. We can come together and then now, let's do the addition and see. Because these are figures and it is there. Everybody who in Ghana can do arithmetics. You get it. You may make a mistake, but I'll get it right. And this happens, even in offices. Don't people doing accounting out of human fatigue and all that? For as long as it's a human being that is doing it, some of these mistakes
But then when the election is decided on first past the post and then 50% plus one, you can't joke with the...
But it will definitely be found out. I mean, how can the whole country look at it and then not find out? Some of these things, we shouldn't make it look as if there's a grand scheme to ban Ghana. Ghana is our own. It has to stay alive.
How do we help the Electoral Commission to get back on track so that you will not have to complain?
This current Electoral Commission, they have a penchant of incompetence. Highly incompetent. Look, they are adverse to change. Look, they should have learned their lessons from the 2023 registration, right? This problem we are having, we had similar problems during the 2023 limited registration. It's not true. My brother is here. You saw it. We all went through the problem. Network challenges, people having issues with busing and all that, security challenges and all that. After the registration exercise, we went into district assembly elections. Very shambolic. The first time we had a district assembly election with shortage of ballot papers, polling stations. People went to vote and their names could not be found in the register. This is the Electoral Commission. That you want me to sleep with my two eyes. As we speak now, 26,000 names cannot be found in the register, the current register. I'm surprised they went and had a by-election. That was a terrible register they used for that by-election. Because that by-election, that register was not good for a purpose, as we speak now, per their own memo to their regional directors. Is my brother not aware of that memo to the regional directors? That they should collate all discrepancies in the register and bring it for them to restore their names back. We discussed it at IPAC about that, the discrepancies in the 2023 register. You are having, I'm not sure. I don't know whether you have gone to check your name. Don't be sure, Johnny, whether your name is in this register. Don't trust these people. Because
that my name could be excluded from the register.
In the register. People voted in 2020, went to the 2023 district assembly election, and their names were not in the register.
And what explanation has the Electoral Commission given?
He's holding forth for them in terms of IT. I am saying that his explanation about their IT system, you say why we are saying they should investigate them. The IT setup. Who is handling their IT
program? But I remember that when Madam G. Mensah came into the administration at the Electoral Commission, she said she went to see their IT setup. And she thought it was on there and she took it and then
she said we invested money into it. They are now in charge of the data.
Right.
They have taken out...
And do you doubt them?
Do you know what? They've taken out all the IT guys who were working before she came out of the place. There are a new set of people over there. I've been working.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've been working with these people since '92.
They sacked them.
All of go there. I'm saying new faces. People are handling. Even the commissioners.
New faces brought from where?
Oh, they are appointed. Is James Mensah not a new person as they are Ghana? We didn't say they are not. They are Togolese. They are Ghanaians, all right. They are Ghanaians, all right. But my brother,
but you're talking about institutional memory.
Institutional memory. And apart from that, you go and put Apiahini, Dr. Apiahini, your communicator, IT officer for Bono East, as a commissioner, what do you expect? He's sitting there as a commissioner of Electoral Commission.
Right.
Tomorrow, I'm made commissioner of elections. How will Ghanaians take it?
You're NDC, so you cannot.
You know me? Apiahini, who doesn't know that Apiahini is NDC? Somebody,
He's MPP, actually.
MPP, who doesn't know that he's an MPP? My brother is here. He's a deputy IT officer. Is that not? Then tomorrow you go and put him as a commissioner, or you go and put him director of IT, Electoral Commission. Say because he's a Ghanaian, he has the qualification. So he should go and sit there. What are you doing to this country? And I'm saying that why we are having this challenge is this. They are not learning from their mistakes when you even correct them. When we went back to IPA, you see, we have brought in a lot of innovations for them to go with. Look, when we were doing this calendar thing and all that, where I sat there throughout, and we gave them ideas to go about it. Look, this issue about this, the network challenge, he knows it. What is their fallback plan when you have a network challenge? They are using VPN. Is that not true? You know it. The Electoral Commission.
And even VPN is not so clean.
I am saying that's one. And they are taking from what? MTN. What is their redundancy plan? Who doesn't know this? You are an IT guy. I've been a lecturer in IT for almost 20 years, and I can tell you, these people, they know what they are about. And I'm saying that this group...
So don't let me understand.
Yes.
You say the Electoral Commission is setting us on a dangerous path?
Very dangerous path. And I'm saying that Ghana, this is a time for us to rise up. This is a dress rehearsal. This thing they did the day before yesterday. It's a dress rehearsal for 2024. One, you deliberately put out fake figures to test the emotion of Ghanaians. Deliberately, because I said deliberately because simple arithmetic, 16 regions, 16. Makonla calculator. Just put it, not scientific calculator. Not scientific, Makonla calculator. Pointing it together, and you can't arrive 19,000, you are arriving at 25,000. And we thought that was enough. You continue that way up to day 4. And it has to take a political party to point out to you that what you are doing. And I'm saying that, my brother is saying that we should be responsible in our talk. Okay, now, do you know how people were killed in Sunyani, Techima South? Was it not a collation center? Was it not wrong collations that led to the shooting and killed 8 people? Was it not wrong collation?
That matter has not been resolved.
It has not been resolved. You are sitting down here, you are comfortable with wrong figures. And I'm saying that we have served notice. And that is why we are always monitoring them, what they do. And we are always quick to tell them that, look,
how do we help the Electoral Commission to get better?
That is why we are saying that let's all go by the CI.
Okay.
If you move outside the CI, we are going to create problem.
I hear you.
Why I'm saying they shouldn't move outside the CI. My brother, take your time and read the CIs. And I'll give you one example.
CI 96 and CI 126.
No, 96 is the old type. We are talking of the current one. This one. The latest one is 127, the one that we use for the elections. And the one we use for the registration is 91, amended by 126. Go and check.
96 amended by 126.
It's 91, not 96. You are quoting wrong.
Okay.
You see, you know why I'm saying that?
Let's wrap up.
There is a point, a clause there about recruitment of registration officials. They said the Electoral Commission, the names that you propose to be recruited, send those names to political parties, 14 clear days, for us to critique the names.
There was an interview on Onya TV recently with Captain Smart and Hobson Addo, and was mentioning known party people of the
That is what I'm saying.
Who have actually been recruited by the Electoral Commission too.
Yeah, Johnny, do you know what happened?
He is with your alliance.
Yeah, Johnny, do you know what happened?
He said he knows them personally.
And even this one is so critical. Look, Ghanaians, we are not interested in the process. The day this country will go into flames, we have to blame ourselves.
No, nobody will.
Do you know why I'm saying that it won't do that?
Yes, sir.
This country will not go into flames.
The regulation says that 14 days, give the names 14 days to the registration date. The registration is slated for 7th May. So you have 14 days to give us a list so that we'll critique it and give you 7 days for that. Jim Mensah only came and announced the names on 7th May, even at 4 p.m. that I have appointed returning officers. Do you know that they have already appointed returning officers and using them as registration supervisors? And they were to start work on the following day.
And you have no information about
Nothing, zero.
Okay.
Why are we doing this to ourselves? And the Peace Council, those who are interested in peace, do you know that they are not interested in the process? They are quiet about all the stealing of items, a shambolic registration process going on. recently, their officer is arrested just last night at Upper East Pusiga, using one Ghana card to register over 20 people. He's behind bars as we speak now. Their own people.
I hear you.
Why are they doing this to Ghanaians?
Duke, 30 seconds. We're wrapping up. What do you say?
I think it's obvious that the greatest threat to our democracy is the continuation of the establishment of the MPP and NDC. Until your young people tend to address the fact that they need to get rid of the MPP and the NDC, who obviously are looking forward to undermining every single constitutional process that we have in this country, then we cannot make progress. And the only one who has in mind such reforms that will ensure that young people have a future in this country is Alan John Kojo Chairmanton.
We hear you. Fawcett, 30 seconds.
All right, Johnny. It's interesting, but before I say
the man
anything,
is breaking your legs. You are smiling.
This is for their own people. You handle them later.
Handle them
later. I mean, on a more serious note, Ghana will not bend for any other reason. Ghana will not bend for any political party.
Right.
We in the MPP do not wish Ghana to bend for any reason.
Okay.
Not even for the MPP. Not for our flag bearer.
We love our peace.
Ghanaians must remain alive because we believe that Ghanaians will have to vote.
I hear
and the EC may not be perfect, but then this is the EC we have. Let us all come together and then contribute.
I hear you.
You understand? That's why you shouldn't leave. You should not leave IPAC. We should all stay together and Jojo and then advise the EC.
I hear you.
We as political parties, we are partners. We are partners in this together.
We hear you. We hear
Johnny,
you.
an addendum.
Yes.
Ghana. Nobody wants the country to bend.
But that's what you just stated.
Allow
You see, when you are listening, you listen at him. I gave an alibi based on that statement. That look, we should be interested in the what? In the process.
Right.
Not the event.
Not the event.
If we are only interested in the event, it will stay in our face. And I'm saying that the process is as important as the what? The event itself.
Right.
We are now in the process. Certain things are not going right. And we are not talking. Those who are supposed to talk are quiet. The Electoral Commission has started churning out fake figures, fake numbers. And then it has to take the political party, the NDC specifically, to correct those things. And we are saying that how long are we going to continue correcting this Electoral Commission? And the December 7th, they will go and be churning out fake figures on election day.
Okay.
What do you expect?
Thank you, Dr. Rashid Tanko Computer is the Deputy Director of Elections of the NDC. Duke Aaron Sasu is a private legal practitioner, is also a member, youth leader of the Alliance for Revolutionary Change. Stephen Forson, Deputy Director of IT of the NPP. Gentlemen, we thank you very much indeed for your time. We're grateful. See you soon. And we have Womenpreneur coming up with Helen Apia Ampafo. And you're dang. Womenpreneur.
The best in